Princess Valeth stood alone on the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel. Her silver eyes watched the blue and green planet growing larger in the viewport. Earth. Her new prison. She was tall and slender, with pale lavender skin that seemed to glow softly in dim light. Her people, the Crinari, were considered one of the most beautiful species in the galaxy. They were also one of the cruelest. For 300 years, Valeth had lived in the shadow of her shame. Among the Crinari, a female's worth was measured by one thing alone: her ability to produce strong children. The more children a woman bore, the higher her status. The stronger her offspring, the greater her honor. Valeth could bear no children at all. The royal physicians had confirmed it when she was young. Her body was broken, they said. Defective. No matter what treatments they tried, her womb remained empty. In a society that worshipped fertility above all else, she was worthless. Her own mother had stopped speaking to her after the diagnosis. Her sisters whispered behind her back. The court treated her like a ghost, someone to be tolerated but never truly seen. When the Galactic Concord announced that each major species must send a representative to Earth, the Crinari High Council had smiled. They finally had a use for their barren princess. Earth was a joke among the civilized species. The humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 20 years ago. They were primitive, short-lived, and weak. Their planet was a backwater. Their culture was considered barbaric, and their technology was centuries behind everyone else. Sending Valeth to Earth was not an honor. It was an insult wrapped in silk. The council was telling her that she belonged with the other worthless creatures of the galaxy. She understood the message perfectly. The ship landed at the New Geneva spaceport, a sprawling complex that served as humanity's gateway to the stars. Valeth stepped off the vessel and immediately felt the difference. Earth's yellow sun was warm on her skin, much warmer than the pale light of her homeworld. She found it strangely pleasant. A small group of humans waited to greet her. They were shorter than Crinari, softer-looking, with skin in various shades of brown and pink. They seemed fragile, like creatures that could be broken easily. One of them stepped forward. He was a male of average height, with black hair and kind dark eyes. He wore a simple white coat over casual clothes. Nothing about him was impressive or memorable. "Princess Valeth," he said, his pronunciation careful but imperfect. "I am Dr. Marcus Chen. I will be your liaison during your time on Earth. Welcome to our planet." He smiled at her. It was a genuine smile, warm and welcoming. Valeth found it confusing. "Thank you, Doctor," she replied in perfect English. The Crinari learned languages quickly. "I look forward to our work together." That was a lie. She looked forward to nothing. She expected nothing. She planned to serve her time on this primitive world, and then fade into obscurity somewhere the council could forget about her. But Marcus Chen, she would soon discover, had other plans. The first weeks were strange. Marcus was assigned to help her understand human culture while she taught him about Crinari society. It should have been boring work, simple exchanges of information between two very different species. Instead, Valeth found herself curious. Marcus was unlike any being she had ever met. He asked her questions not because protocol demanded it, but because he genuinely wanted to know the answers. When she mentioned that Crinari found certain sounds unpleasant, he immediately adjusted the music in his laboratory. When she admitted that she missed the sweet fruits of her homeworld, he spent a week searching for Earth fruits with similar flavors. "Why do you do these things?" she asked him one afternoon. They were sitting in a glass conservatory filled with plants from around the world. Sunlight streamed through the windows, warming her skin. Marcus looked up from his notes. "What things? You accommodate me constantly. You change your schedule to match my preferences. You work to make me comfortable." She tilted her head, studying him. "Among my people, such efforts are only made for those of great importance. I am no one of consequence." He laughed. The sound was bright and genuine, and it did something strange to her chest. "You are someone I want to understand," he said simply. "Someone I enjoy spending time with. That makes you very consequential to me." Valeth did not know how to respond. The Crinari did not think this way. Relationships among her people were transactions, carefully calculated exchanges of value. You gave attention to those who could benefit you. You ignored those who could not. Marcus expected nothing from her. He simply enjoyed her company. The concept was alien, in the truest sense of the word. As weeks passed, something began to change inside Valeth. She found herself looking forward to her meetings with Marcus. She noticed when he was tired and suggested they rest. She learned how he took his coffee and began preparing it for him without being asked. One evening, as they watched Earth's sunset paint the sky in colors her homeworld never saw, she realized she was feeling something new. Something warm and frightening and wonderful. Her people had no word for it. They did not believe such feelings existed. But humans, she was learning, believed in many impossible things, and sometimes, impossible things turned out to be true. She looked at Marcus, who was explaining the science behind the sunset's colors with the enthusiasm of a child. He caught her watching and smiled. "What?" he asked. "Nothing," she said softly. "I am simply glad I was sent here." It was the first time she had meant those words. And somewhere deep inside her broken body, something that had been dormant for 3 centuries began to stir. She did not know it yet, but her story was only beginning. 3 months had passed since Valeth arrived on Earth. 3 months that had changed everything she thought she knew about herself and about the universe. Marcus Chen had become the center of her world. She did not understand how it happened. The Krenari were taught from birth that emotions were weaknesses. Love was a fairy tale that primitive species told themselves. Real relationships were built on genetic compatibility and political advantage. Nothing more. But Marcus made her feel things that no Krenari had ever made her feel. When he entered a room, her heart beat faster. When he laughed, she wanted to make him laugh again. When their hands accidentally touched, electricity seemed to flow through her skin. It was terrifying. It was wonderful. It was completely impossible. One evening, they were working late in his laboratory. Rain was falling outside, a gentle sound that Valeth had grown to love. Her homeworld had no rain. Water fell as ice crystals that cut like tiny knives. "You seem distracted tonight," Marcus said, looking up from his computer. "Is everything okay?" Valeth hesitated. She had been keeping a secret, and the weight of it was becoming too heavy to bear. "May I tell you something?" she asked quietly. "Something I have never told anyone on this planet?" Marcus turned his chair to face her fully. His expression was open and patient. "Of course. You can tell me anything." She took a deep breath. "My people sent me here as a punishment, not as an honor." "I suspected as much," Marcus admitted. "The way you talked about home, there was always pain underneath. Do you know why they punished me?" He shook his head. Valeth closed her eyes. The shame she had carried for 3 centuries pressed down on her chest. But somehow, with Marcus, she found the courage to speak. "Among my people, a female's only value is her ability to bear children. Strong children. Many children. This is how we measure worth." She opened her eyes and met his gaze. "I cannot bear children, Marcus. I am barren. My body is broken. Among the Krenari, I am worth less than nothing." She waited for his expression to change. For the disappointment, the pity, the disgust. She had seen all of these reactions from her own people countless times, but Marcus only looked sad. Sad for her. "That is the cruelest thing I have ever heard," he said softly. "It is simply the way of my people." "No." His voice was firm. "It is not simple. It is wrong. A person's value has nothing to do with what their body can or cannot do." He leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. "Valeth, you are brilliant. You are kind. You are curious and brave and beautiful. Anyone who cannot see that is a fool." Tears formed in her silver eyes. Krenari rarely cried. It was considered a sign of weakness. But she could not stop them. "You truly believe this?" she whispered. "With all my heart." He reached out and took her hand. It was such a simple gesture. But among the Krenari, touching hands was deeply intimate. It was something lovers did in private, away from watching eyes. She did not pull away. "Marcus," she said, her voice trembling. "I do not know what is happening to me. When I am with you, I feel things I was taught do not exist. My people say love is a myth. But when I look at you," she could not finish the sentence. But she did not need to. Marcus stood and moved closer to her. Very gently, he raised his hand and touched her face. Her lavender skin was warm under his fingers. "I feel it too," he said. "I have felt it for weeks. I tried to ignore it because I thought it was impossible. You are a princess. I am just a scientist. You are Krenari. I am human. Everything about this should be wrong. But it does not feel wrong," Valeth said. "No," he agreed. "It feels like the most right thing in the universe." That night, everything changed between them. Their relationship crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. What had been professional became personal. What had been friendship became something deeper. Something that neither had words to fully describe. In the weeks that followed, they kept their relationship secret. It was dangerous for both of them. The Krenari would consider Valeth a traitor for forming a bond with a human. Earth's government might see it as a diplomatic problem. There were too many risks, but they could not stay away from each other. Marcus showed her the simple joys of human life. They cooked meals together in his small apartment. They watched old movies and laughed at the strange stories humans told. They walked through parks at night and looked at stars that seemed different from Earth than from any Krenari world. Valeth had never been happier. Then, 2 months into their secret relationship, something strange began to happen. She started feeling sick in the mornings. Foods she had always enjoyed suddenly made her nauseous. She was tired all the time, needing sleep in the middle of the day. Her body felt different, changed in ways she could not explain. At first, she thought it was some human illness. Perhaps her body was reacting badly to Earth's environment. She had been here for 5 months. Maybe there were long-term effects she had not anticipated. But deep down, in a place she was afraid to examine, she suspected something else. Something impossible. Finally, she could ignore it no longer. She went to a human medical facility, one that specialized in alien visitors. The doctors ran their tests with confused expressions. They had never examined a pregnant Krenari before, because no Krenari had ever become pregnant with a human child, until now. The doctor showed her the scan. There, inside her body that had been called broken and worthless for 300 years, a tiny life was growing. Half Krenari, half human. Completely impossible. Valeth stared at the image, tears streaming down her face. She was going to be a mother, and the galaxy would never be the same. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. The barren Krenari princess was pregnant. The father was a human. Every scientific law, every biological rule, every genetic model said it was impossible. Yet the medical scans did not lie. Valeth stood in Marcus's apartment, her hand resting on her stomach. She could not feel the baby moving yet, but she knew it was there. Growing. Living. A miracle that should not exist. "What do we do now?" she asked quietly. Marcus paced the room, his face tight with worry. "I do not know. This has never happened before. No human has ever had a child with any alien species. The galaxy does not know how to react." They did not have to wait long to find out. 3 days after the news broke, the Krenari High Council sent their response. A formal message, broadcast on all official channels. Valeth watched it on the screen with cold dread building in her chest. Lord Vreth, the head of the council's military faction, delivered the announcement. He was tall and cruel, with eyes like chips of ice. Valeth had known him since childhood. He had always looked at her with disgust. "The creature growing inside the former princess is an abomination," Vreth declared. "It is a corruption of royal blood, a violation of natural law. The council demands that Valeth return immediately to face judgment. The pregnancy will be terminated. The human responsible will be punished." He paused, letting his words sink in. "If Earth refuses to return her, The Krenari Empire will consider it an act of war. The screen went dark. Valeth felt Marcus's arms wrap around her from behind. She leaned into him, drawing strength from his presence. "I will not let them take you," he whispered. "I will not let them hurt our child. They have warships," she said. "Earth has none. How can you stop them?" He did not have an answer. But others did. Within hours of the Krenari announcement, something unexpected began to happen. Other species started sending messages to Earth. Not threats. Support. The Veleth communion was first. They were a hive-minded species. Millions of individuals sharing one consciousness. For 10,000 years, they had tried to breed with other species. They wanted to expand their collective, to add new perspectives to their shared mind. They had always failed. "Humanity has achieved what we could not," their message said. "We wish to study this miracle. We offer Earth our protection." The Orthani collective came next. They were ancient beings, nearly immortal, but they had lost the ability to reproduce centuries ago. Their species was slowly dying. The news of Valeth's pregnancy gave them something they had not felt in generations: hope. "If humans can make the barren fertile," their ambassador said, "perhaps they can help us as well. We stand with Earth." More messages followed. The Rothani traders, who saw profitable opportunities in human genetics. The Cheleth philosophers, who were fascinated by this challenge to establish science. The Umani engineers, who simply disliked the Krenari and enjoyed any chance to oppose them. One by one, species that had ignored humanity for 20 years suddenly became very interested in protecting them. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, Earth's leading expert on alien relations, called an emergency meeting. Marcus and Valeth were brought to the United Nations headquarters in New Geneva. The room was filled with the most powerful humans on the planet. "We need to understand what is happening," Dr. Okonkwo said. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. "Princess Valeth, our scientists have been studying your medical data. What they found is extraordinary." She pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared. It showed 2 strands of DNA, one Krenari and one human, twisted together in a complex dance. "Human genetics are unlike anything else in the known galaxy," Dr. Okonkwo explained. "Other species evolved to be specialized. The Krenari developed telepathy. The Veleth developed their hive mind. The Orthani developed long life. Each species became very good at one thing." She zoomed in on the human DNA strand. "Humans evolved differently. Our planet was chaotic. Ice ages, meteor strikes, constant environmental change. We could not afford to specialize. Instead, we developed adaptability. Our DNA contains segments that can recognize foreign genetic material and find ways to make it compatible." The room was silent. Everyone understood what she was saying. "You mean humans can breed with any species?" the Secretary General asked. "Potentially, yes. We are like a universal key that can open any lock." Dr. Okonkwo looked at Valeth. "Princess, you were not broken. Your body simply needed a partner whose genetics could adapt to yours. Marcus was that partner." Valeth felt tears forming in her eyes. For 300 years, she had believed she was defective, worthless. Now, she understood the truth. She had simply been waiting for the right person. She looked at Marcus and saw the same realization in his eyes, but there was no time for emotional moments. Lord Vreth's fleet was already moving toward Earth. 200 warships, enough firepower to destroy every city on the planet. They would arrive in 3 weeks. "What do we do?" someone asked. Dr. Okonkwo straightened her shoulders. "We call for help. Every species that contacted us, we accept their offer. We build a coalition. We show the Krenari that attacking Earth means attacking half the galaxy." It was a desperate plan. It had never been tried before. Different species did not work together. They competed. They traded. They fought. They did not unite. But humanity had just proven that the impossible was possible. Perhaps they could do it again. Lord Vreth stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Crimson Blade. Through the viewport, he could see the 200 warships of the Krenari fleet. Each one was a masterpiece of destruction, capable of burning cities to ash in minutes. Earth had no chance. He smiled coldly. Soon, the abomination growing inside Valeth would be destroyed. The human who had dared to touch a Crenari princess would be executed, and the galaxy would learn that some rules could not be broken. His communications officer approached, nervously. "My lord, we are receiving strange reports from our scouts." "What kind of reports?" "Ships, my lord. Many ships. They are gathering near Earth." Vreth frowned. "Human ships? They have nothing that can challenge us." "Oh, not human ships, my lord." The officer swallowed hard. "Veleth carriers, Orthani cruisers, Rothani frigates. At least 15 different species. They are forming a defensive line around the planet." For the first time in many years, Lord Vreth felt uncertain. On Earth, Marcus watched the Coalition fleet assemble through a telescope on the roof of the United Nations building. Ships of every shape and size were arriving through faster-than-light jumps. Some were elegant and curved, others were blocky and functional. A few looked like nothing he had ever imagined. Valeth stood beside him, wrapped in a warm coat. Her pregnancy was showing now, a small bump beneath the fabric. She was more beautiful than ever. "I never thought I would see this," she said softly. "Different species working together. It does not happen. It has never happened." "It is happening now," Marcus replied. "Because of you. Because of our child." She shook her head. "Because of humans. Your people did something no one else could do. You gave the galaxy hope." Below them, Dr. Okonkwo was coordinating the impossible. Veleth hive ships communicated in pulses of light. Orthani vessels used gravity waves. Rothani traders preferred encrypted radio. Getting them all to work together required patience, creativity, and a lot of coffee. But slowly, it was working. The Coalition had 150 ships, not as many as the Crenari fleet, but enough to make Vreth think twice. More importantly, the Coalition represented something the galaxy had never seen: unity. News broadcasts across the stars showed the gathering fleet. Commentators who had spent years mocking humanity suddenly spoke of them with respect. The primitive species from the backwater planet had done something remarkable. They had brought the galaxy together. But Lord Vreth was not ready to give up. 1 week before the Crenari fleet was scheduled to arrive, a secret message reached Earth. It came from inside the Crenari Empire, from members of the royal court who opposed the war. "Vreth does not speak for all of us," the message said. "Many Crenari are ashamed of what our leaders are doing. We have watched Princess Valeth's interviews. We have seen the human doctor who loves her. We do not believe your child is an abomination. We believe it is a miracle." The message included valuable information: fleet positions, weapon capabilities, communication codes. Everything the Coalition needed to prepare their defense. Valeth cried when she read it. For 300 years, she had believed her people hated her. Now she learned that some of them had been silent supporters all along. They had simply been too afraid to speak. "Your courage has given them courage," Marcus told her. "You showed them it was possible to stand against the Council." The days passed quickly. The Coalition trained together, learning to coordinate their different technologies. Human commanders proved surprisingly good at managing the chaos. They were used to working with diverse groups, finding common ground between different cultures. "It is because of your history," the Veleth ambassador observed. "Your planet has thousands of different societies. You learned to cooperate long before you reached the stars." 3 days before the Crenari arrival, Valeth made a decision. She would broadcast a message to the galaxy. She would speak directly to her people, and to everyone else who was watching. She would tell her story in her own words. Marcus helped her prepare. They set up cameras in the conservatory where they had first begun to fall in love. Sunlight streamed through the windows, making her lavender skin glow. "People of the Crenari Empire," she began, looking directly into the lens. "People of the galaxy. I am Valeth, once a princess, always an outcast. For 300 years, I was told I was worthless because my body could not bear children. I believed this lie. I accepted my shame. She paused, gathering strength. Then I came to Earth. I met a human named Marcus Chen. He did not see a barren princess. He saw a person. He saw me. And somehow, through a miracle, I still do not understand, we created a life together. Her hand moved to her stomach. This child is not an abomination. This child is proof that the impossible is possible. That connection matters more than category. That love is stronger than biology. Tears were streaming down her face now, but her voice remained steady. Lord Vreth wants to destroy my child because he fears what it represents. Change. Hope. A future where species work together instead of apart. I ask everyone watching, is that future worth fighting for? She looked at Marcus, standing just off camera. He nodded encouragingly. I believe it is. And I believe humanity has shown us the way. The broadcast ended. Within hours, it had been viewed by billions across the galaxy. On the Krenari homeworld, protests erupted against Lord Vreth. On a dozen other planets, volunteers rushed to join the Coalition fleet. The battle for Earth's future was about to begin, and for the first time, Valeth believed they might actually win. The Krenari fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like wolves entering a sheep's field. 200 warships, their weapons charged and ready. Lord Vreth stood on his command deck with cold satisfaction. Then he saw what waited for him. The Coalition fleet had grown. What started as 150 ships had become over 300. Species that had remained neutral for centuries had finally chosen a side. They floated in perfect formation around Earth, a wall of metal and determination. Impossible, Vreth whispered. His communications officer spoke nervously. My lord, we are receiving messages from dozens of species. They are demanding we withdraw. We do not take orders from lesser beings. My lord, our own homeworld is also sending messages. There are riots in the capital. The people are demanding your removal from command. Vreth's face twisted with rage. This was not how it was supposed to happen. He was supposed to arrive as a conquering hero. Instead, he found himself surrounded and abandoned, but he had not come this far to turn back. All ships, he commanded, prepare for attack. Our target is the human compound, where Valeth is hiding. We will burn it from orbit. My lord, the Coalition fleet will intercept us. Then we will go through them. On Earth, Marcus watched the standoff through a tactical display. The Coalition commanders had placed him and Valeth in a secure bunker beneath the United Nations building. They were surrounded by guards from 5 different species. Valeth sat in a chair nearby, her hands pressed against her swollen belly. The baby was due any day now. The timing could not have been worse. What is happening? She asked. Vreth is not backing down, Marcus said grimly. He is preparing to attack. Fear flashed across her face. Not for herself, but for their child. They had come so far. They had united the galaxy. And now everything depended on what happened in the next few hours. Then something unexpected occurred. A single ship broke away from the Krenari fleet. It was small and fast. A personal shuttle. It accelerated toward Earth at maximum speed, bypassing both fleets. That is Vreth's personal vessel, Valeth said, recognizing its design. He is coming himself, Marcus understood immediately. Vreth knew he could not win the battle. But if he could reach Earth alone, if he could destroy Valeth and the baby before anyone stopped him, he would consider it a victory. He is insane, Marcus said. He is desperate. Desperate people do terrible things. The Coalition ships tried to intercept, but Vreth's shuttle was too small and too fast. It slipped through their defenses like water through fingers. Within minutes, it would reach Earth's atmosphere. Valeth stood up suddenly. Her silver eyes were hard with determination. Where are you going? Marcus demanded. To stop him. You are pregnant. You cannot fight. She looked at him with an expression he had never seen before. It was the face of a warrior. A princess who had trained for combat since childhood. I am Krenari, she said simply. We are warriors before we are anything else. My body may be pregnant, but my skills remain. She walked to the bunker's defense console. The compound had a single anti-aircraft turret, designed for emergencies. Valeth's fingers moved across the controls with practiced ease. "You know how to use that?" Marcus asked. "I was trained on weapons like this before I could walk." She looked at the screen showing Vreth's approaching shuttle. "He thinks I am weak because I could not bear Krenari children. He is about to learn how wrong he is." The shuttle entered the atmosphere, trailing fire as it descended. Vreth pushed his engines beyond their limits, racing toward the compound. His weapons were locked on target. Valeth waited. Her breathing was calm. Her hands were steady. At the perfect moment, she fired. The turret's beam was precise and devastating. It struck the shuttle's engines, crippling the vessel without destroying it. The craft spiraled downward and crashed in a field 2 miles from the compound. Guards rushed to the crash site and found Lord Vreth alive but injured. He was dragged from the wreckage in chains, screaming curses at Valeth, at humanity, at the entire galaxy. His war was over. But for Valeth, something else was beginning. The stress of the confrontation triggered her labor. Suddenly, the galaxy's attention shifted from warfare to something far more important. The first human Krenari child was about to be born. Doctors from 6 different species worked together in the medical bay. They had prepared for this moment for months, but nothing could fully prepare them for the unknown. This birth had no precedent. Marcus held Valeth's hand through 12 long hours. She squeezed so hard he thought his bones might break. He did not care. He would have let her break every bone in his body if it helped. Finally, as Earth's sun rose over the horizon, a baby's cry filled the room. The doctor, a human woman with tears in her eyes, placed the infant in Valeth's arms. The child was beautiful. Her skin was soft lavender that shifted toward pink in the sunlight. She had her mother's silver eyes and her father's dark hair. Tiny fingers wrapped around Marcus's thumb with surprising strength. "She is perfect," Valeth whispered. Marcus could not speak. He could only stare at this miracle they had created together. "She needs a name," he finally managed. Valeth looked at her daughter, at Marcus, at the doctors of different species who had helped bring this child into the world. "Hope," she said. "Her name is Hope." Outside, the Coalition fleet received the news. Celebrations erupted on ships across the galaxy. On the Krenari homeworld, the High Council was dissolved, replaced by leaders who promised change. On Earth, billions watched as the first child of 2 worlds took her first breaths. The joke the Krenari had played on Valeth had failed completely. They sent her to humanity expecting her to disappear. Instead, she found love, made history, and carried the future of the galaxy within her. And it was only the beginning, the end.